Hollywood has often led us to believe that we only have one soulmate, the right one, the true one, the one who lasts forever. But in reality, our lives are crossed by several soulmates, each with a very specific role. Some are here to love, others to heal, and still others to teach us how to choose ourselves. Today, I'll explain why and how these soulmates connection are chosen even before our incarnation. And I'll also share tips to help you find a soulmate. Welcome to Mystical and Practical, the podcast that demystifies the soul's journey, the spirit world, and spiritual practices. I'm Meli Guidance, a past life psychic, certified Akashic Records reader, and channeling coach. Here, we talk about spirit guides, the Akashic Records, reincarnation, and everything that connects the seen to the unseen, all with both feet firmly on the ground. Ready to decode the spirit world and connect with your inner magic? Let's jump right in. Hi there! Today I'm going to talk to you about your soulmates, yes, plural, and the soul contracts you make with certain people even before incarnating. So we'll explore together what is a soulmate, why you have more than one, is it possible to have no soulmate at all, how you choose your soulmates within the circle of soul agreements, the types of soul contracts we make, and the karma we sometimes come to balance, how to recognize a soulmate, how I recognized a romantic soulmate that I have been with for over 18 years, and the story of a client who remembered her circle of soul agreements. And stay until the end because I will guide you through an exercise to find a romantic soulmate. But before going any further, I would like to clarify one thing. Everything I'm going to share today, so soulmate, soul contracts, the circle of soul agreements, are all elements that can be explored directly in the Akashic Records, which is your book of life or the book of your soul, if you wish. So in your Akashic Records, it's a vibrational space where you get all the information about your soul since its inception, his past lives, and all the in-between. So when we go on the astral plane in between lives and also potential futures. So today, everything I'm going to tell you can be found in the Akashic Records. Some people choose to do this by learning how to read their own Akashic Records, while others receive an Akashic reading. But today, my intention isn't to teach you how to access them, but to offer you a broader understanding of these soul connections, these soulmate connections, so that some relationships in your life may finally begin to make sense. So let's start at the very basis. What is a soulmate? Here, I will explain what I have channeled from my spirit guides. If you already hold other beliefs or you already follow another system, please only take what resonates with you. So first, a soulmate is someone from your own soul family, your soul lineage, if you prefer. So if you don't know what a soul family is, you can go ahead and listen to episode number 2, where I explain how our souls are born, and we're born in clusters in a soul family. So a soulmate is from your soul family, and you know them since birth, and you've known them always on the astral plane, and you two have an intuitive understanding. So you understand each other without needing to explain everything. And with a soulmate, there is often an immediate sense of recognition, of a feeling of we understand each other without speaking, and rightly so, because when we are on the astral plane, everything is pretty much telepathically, energetically. And there is an ease in going very deep, very quickly with a soulmate. And with a soulmate, you incarnate to support one another, to face similar challenges, and also to balance karma or complete a soul lesson. If the soulmate is romantic, they allow you to explore emotional intimacy. They often activate fears like the fear of abandonment, rejection, betrayal, the fear of intimacy, or emotional dependency. And they help you heal these wounds, or they make the wounds impossible to ignore. And vice versa, you are also going to help them. And the ultimate purpose of a soulmate is to be a catalyst for mutual change. So it's not necessarily to stay together forever, as Hollywood likes to put it, or maybe I should say Hallmark movies nowadays. But it's always to transform something deeply. But for sure, a soulmate is not another part of yourself. So I know there is going on the talk about the twin flame, that you find a part of yourself and it's your twin flame. Now, I'm not saying that your soul cannot separate. And my spirit guides talk about twin flames that happens when we have parallel lives. And I'm going to make another video about this to go deeper into it later on. But it's not soulmate and is not another part of yourself. It's a completely different soul. And it's not necessarily a Hollywood style or Hallmark style love story. And as I have hinted, we have more than one soulmate. So we don't work through everything in our lives with a single person, because we're here when we incarnate to work on fears, talents, blocks, desires, karma, and all this learning, expansion, and growth, well, potential growth, it is spread across multiple potential relationships. Now, you've heard me talk about romantic soulmates briefly, but there are also platonic soulmates. So that can be a neighbor who teaches you perseverance by teaching you how to sew. So you have a neighbor who's good at sewing, and so this is something that he or she teaches you. Maybe it's a friend who supports you through your fear of rejection and they accept you no matter what. Maybe it's a loved one who helps you develop your talent for building by inviting you to build their boat. So there is no romantic attraction here, but there is a deep and structuring bond. And those people, they can be from your biological family. So they can be both. They can be part of your soul family and your biological family. So for example, someone that your soul has been born with, they're from your soul family. You both decide when you make your soul plan that, okay, we're going to incarnate in the same biological family. So they can be parents, sibling, or your children that you both have chosen to work together through specific themes. And when you decide that a member from your soul family will be in your biological family, it's kind of a way for you to make sure that you will never miss what you came here to work on. Because people in our biological family, we know that we will see them maybe more frequently, or at least at every Thanksgiving or Christmas, for example. So there's more chances that we're quote unquote stuck with them. And this leads me, talking about platonic soulmates, this leads me to a question I received from a listener. Her name is Jessica, and she is asking, can a soulmate also be an animal, a pet? And yes, an animal can become a soulmate, but it's a different dynamic from a human soulmate. So pet souls are not part of our original soul cluster, soul family. Their soul was not born at the same time as ours. They do not follow the same soul journey as humans, and they do not incarnate in the same form or with the same goals to evolve and learn. There is therefore no prenatal soul contract. Like, we don't meet our pets, our potential pets, when we do our soul plan. So no prenatal soul contract with pets. And However, the soul bonds can be woven over the course of shared incarnation. So when the same pet chooses to incarnate with us repeatedly, and that can be in this lifetime, but also in past lives or in future lives. So the more you have an incarnation with a pet, the more you get chances that over time it will become a soulmate. And once you have that repetition, you recognize each other, there is a bond of recognition there. There is trust and there is mutual support that is built. And so now you can see that what defines a soulmate is not the form, but the depth of the bond. It's how well we know each other, how much we have already known each other, and how much we support one another in our respective journeys. And with pets, beyond a certain threshold of familiarity and continuity, the animal becomes a soulmate. So that's not because it shares our soul lineage, but because there is a conscious, evolving bond that has been created over time. And in this dynamic, the pet supports our human soul journey, and we support the evolution of our pet's soul journey. And the bond is based on presence, loyalty, and of course, an open heart. So there may be karma to balance. It doesn't mean it's all sunshine and roses. There may be karma to balance, or there may simply be shared growth. It depends in each incarnation. And this is often why the attachment is immediate, the relationship is simple yet deep. And also, this is often why the grief for a pet can be as intense as the grief we have for another human being. Because it's not just an animal, but it's a longtime soul companion. And I will talk more about this in another podcast episode during the fall when my book, Communicating with Your Deceased Pet, I'm not sure how I'm going to translate it in English. It's a book that will only be published in French for now, but when it's going to be released, I will have at least one podcast episode that will dive deeper into our relationship with our pets. So these were about platonic soulmates. Now I'm going to talk about romantic soulmates. Romantic soulmates often, these are souls with whom we often have had several past lives together. So we shared a lot of past lives, we know each other very much, and each relationship that we have had in the past helps us explore in the past, but in the future. So each relationship that we have together, it helps us to explore a different facet of love every time. So for example, one relationship can be there to help us heal abandonment, another one to learn how to set boundaries, or another one to open ourselves to emotional intimacy. And on that note, breakups are not a failure. They are often part of our soul plan. The relationship may have fulfilled its contract once a lesson is learned, and a breakup is just natural. It's not a failure. You are not required to be in a relationship with all your soulmates, by the way. So we choose several potential soulmates. They exist as potentials because we need possibilities. So the more possibilities there are, the greater the chances of meeting those who help you work through your key themes are there. And you might wonder, does everyone have one or more soulmates? So in other words, is it possible that someone incarnates on Earth and has zero soulmate? Let me tell you, everyone has platonic soulmates. About 98% of people, I would say, also have one or more romantic soulmates. But there are rare exceptions for people who have 100% avoidance mission. So if you don't know the life missions and the mission of avoidance, you can go back and listen to episode number 9. I will link episode 9 in the show notes below. But if someone has 100% mission of avoidance, okay, and I'm saying 100 in this rare case. I'm not saying like most people take 50% connection and 50% avoidance to have a nice balance. Some people will choose for very specific incarnations 100% mission of avoidance. And in these cases, they do not have a romantic soulmate. They will have 1, 2, maybe 3 platonic soulmates, not much more, and they won't interact with them a lot or all the time in their lives because they are making a choice of solitude. They are choosing a life in hermit mode, if you wish. And there are also the people who are very cynical about soulmates and they are close to the idea. So people who don't believe in soulmates. And these people build relationships based on physical appearance, social status, and financial security. That mostly happens in the case of young souls. Not all young souls, of course, but some young souls will have that cynical view, don't believe in soulmates, and I'm just making my choices based on physical appearance, social status, or financial security. It can also happen with old souls. Those old souls who kind of are blinded by the illusion, as Ainsley MacLeod would say. My spirit guides talk about these people being caught behind the veil of truth. So this can happen when you are an old soul, but you are very disconnected from your soul, and you can be a little bit more superficial and you become very cynical. But there are also the people open to the idea of soulmates, and those people who are the majority of people, they seek deep connection and they want to understand the meaning of their relationships. So I'm curious to know, so far I've been talking about platonic and romantic soulmates. I'm curious to know, is there a relationship that is spontaneously coming to mind as you listen to what I'm saying, or maybe several relationships? Okay, now I want to bring you to the circle of soul agreements. I want to explain to you how we choose our soulmates. So, as I've talked about before, each incarnation we make our soul plan, and we meet different people when we're making our soul plan and we're making contracts, soul contracts. But when we are choosing our soulmates, we have a circle that is different. It's very more closed, I would say. And I call it the circle of soul agreements. This circle includes only members of our soul family. And in this circle, several soulmate relationship options are chosen, each with different lessons to work through. And here it is very important to explain that no one is a plan B for someone. Even though you might sometimes feel like you're a plan B, that is more your own issues that you are working through. If you are truly with a soulmate, okay, so if you're not with a soulmate, maybe you're their plan B, who knows? But if you're truly with a soulmate, you are never a plan B. You are not a second choice. Because with each potential soulmate that we choose, with whom we make a contract, we have different things, lessons to work on, fears to heal. So everyone is a good match for us, but we want to have a lot of potential matches because we don't know what's going to happen once we incarnate. We all have our free will. So I have my free will, you have your free will, your potential soulmates all have their free will. You don't know what's going to happen. And let's take the example of a potential soulmate of you. You incarnate, you end up meeting them, but at the point when you meet them, they have become strongly addicted to a substance, or they are experiencing serious PTSD, and that makes them completely non-functional. And so you will not want to be in a relationship with that person. So when that happens, the spirit guides say that the options recalibrate. So spirit guides recalibrate, they put other synchronicities in motion so that you can meet other soulmates. And when you choose your soulmates, there are some selection criteria. So you will want to choose someone. It depends. Sometimes you choose someone because they have the same fears or repetitive patterns. And when you choose someone like that, this person understands you because you share the same fears, but that person is mirroring you as well. So sometimes it can be a bit confronting. Or conversely, maybe it's someone who doesn't share the same fears that you have, and this person is going to support you and be your mentor. So, for example, I have a little bit of both with my husband, and some fears we share, but some we don't. And my husband has a fear of water that he has been working on spiritually, so now it's way, way better. And I don't have a fear of water. Like, I love water and I'm a super, super good swimmer. And his fear stems from past lives, but also a very bad experience when he was a child in this life. And so here we're together, and I'm here to support him through that and cheer him up and give him confidence in his ability to swim in the water. So you can have a little bit of both, shared fears or fears that aren't shared. It can also be someone that you choose because you have past life karma to balance. And I will segue on this note to soul contracts and karmic contracts. So a soul contract is never there to make you suffer for nothing. Not at all. Its purpose is transformation, healing, and the expansion of consciousness, making you understand the two sides of a coin or a metal, whatever expression you're used to hear. So that's a soul contract. A karmic contract aims to balance a past life dynamic. So if in a past life you have derailed someone from their life plan, or conversely, you have been derailed from your soul plan by someone else, then you have karma to balance. And it's not always comfortable when you reincarnate and you have a karmic contract, but it is never punitive. It's always about understanding. The essential point being here that you always have your free will, and you can end a soul contract, especially in cases of toxic relationships, violence, or gaslighting, manipulation, all of this. So to make this all clear, I will give you an example of a karmic soulmate contract. So let's take the example of Lily and Matthew. They are part of the same soul family, and they have already shared multiple past lives. So they know each other on a soul level. They know each other very well. And they have shared a romantic relationship in a past life in the 1800s. At that time, Lily was the guy and Matthew was the woman, and they were married. And the historical context makes it so that it created a natural imbalance. So in that past life, Lily, she was the man, she had more power, she could take all the decisions, she was making all the decisions as the man. And Matthew, he was the wife, he was always adapting herself to kind of preserve the bond and the family's security. Because if there was conflict and she was losing the husband, she was losing the money and the house and everything. So she was rather sheepish. She didn't have a voice. And so Matthew, the wife, because we often switch from man to woman in our different incarnations just to have a bigger understanding of the human experience. So Matthew, who was the wife in the past life in the 1800s, she was emotionally and materially dependent with no power, no personal projects or passions possible. And when they both died, Matthew and Lily, the relationship ended without balance or repair, any kind of healing. So now they are meeting on the astral plane. They're ready to reincarnate again, and they have an opportunity to reincarnate at the same time and meet. So they think it's a great time to make a soul contract, a karmic soul contract. And the goal is to bring balance, kind of rebalance the power between the two. Heal emotional dependency, learn to love without control, without self-sacrifice. So they choose to have a romantic relationship so that intimacy can activate karmic runes more quickly. And also they know that emotion will allow for deeper healing. And now they incarnate, they are on Earth, and in this life, Lily is incarnated as a person who is confident. Remember, Lily was the husband in the past life. So now she incarnates, she's confident, she's autonomous, and she's more emotionally reserved also. Matthew, who used to be the wife, now he incarnates as a person who's very sensitive, emotionally invested, with a deep fear of abandonment. And that leads karma to activate when they meet. When they meet, they recognize each other as soulmates because they are from the same soul family and they have a soulmate contract. So there is an immediate attraction. There is a sense of familiarity and emotional sense of déjà vu. And very quickly, Matthew becomes very attached. Lily is unconsciously taking the leader role, and the old imbalance reactivates. Here, the soul lesson to integrate for Matthew is to choose himself without fear of displeasing or losing the other. He wants to develop inner security and set clear boundaries. For Lily, she wants to learn to let go of the need of control, open emotionally, and love without dominating. So I'm giving you this example, but they could have chosen to kind of reverse it, and that Lily would have incarnated being more submissive so that she understands what Matthew was going through in the past life in 1800s. We always have our free will when we make our soul plan to decide what type of relationship we want. But either way, we know it's going to get reactivated because of our karma from past lives. Now, in the example that I gave you, there are possible outcomes to the contract, many possible outcomes, but I will give you two scenarios. So first one is kind of the best scenario we can imagine. They both do the inner work, the relationship evolves, the bond becomes more balanced. In scenario number 2, Lily refuses to evolve and to release any control. She's very controlling, and Matthew sees it. It kind of pains him. It opens up a wound, but still he learns and he chooses to leave Lily, and he chooses himself, actually. He does the opposite of what happened in the past life. And when he does this, the karmic pattern on his part is broken because he learned the lesson to choose himself. And the contract is completed through the separation. Here, Lily didn't evolve or release control yet. She will have other opportunities with other soulmates potential soulmates with whom she made contracts before incarnating to learn that lesson. Or if she doesn't do it in this incarnation, she will reincarnate and have other karmic contracts to help her balance that karma and learn the lessons. So karma is not balanced when a relationship continues at all costs. It is balanced when a soul makes a different choice than it did before, a choice that comes to balance a karma from a past life. So now you might wonder, okay, but Meli, how do we recognize a soulmate? Well, there is this immediate sense of familiarity. It feels like you've always known them. It feels like coming home. And the bond activates quickly and intensely. And you feel like you're deeply seen. And you are deeply seen because you know each other's soul. And for all the rest, it's all in the hands of your spirit guides to handle the synchronicities, making sure that you meet through unlikely encounters, perfect timing, or maybe even imperfect timing, but the right timing. And also making sure there are repetitions so that you are ready to be with the other person. So maybe you meet a potential soulmate, but maybe you're grieving or it's just not the right day. Well, there's going to be repetitions and you will have the opportunity to meet that person again. Spirit guides are going to work on synchronicities. And here I want to talk to you about how I met my husband 18 years ago and how I realized that he was one of my soulmates. So my husband was in France, I was in Quebec, and we met through a common friend, a friend who had come to my workplace for a summer internship. And she went back to Paris and she told me, well, next year, if you want to come and stay at my place and you can visit Paris. And so I did. And on the last day that I was at her place, we had a dinner in a restaurant that was planned. Like, we didn't have much money and we're like, okay, we're going to eat at a very good and very typical Parisian restaurant. So we're going to do that big expense on the last day that we're together. And she receives a text and she says, oh my God, Meli, there is my friend Pierre. He lives in the building just across the street. He's always super busy with work. I can never see him even though he's super close. And I could see him tonight. Do you mind if he joins us at the restaurant? And I'm like, no, I really don't mind. So we're waiting for him to text us that he's ready. He never texts. And so we decide to cross the street, go into his building and knock on his door to kind of tell him, hey, what are you doing? Like, we're hungry. And so we get to his apartment and I remember vividly when I got there, I saw a figurine, a big figurine of an orc from Lord of the Rings. And I love everything that is universes in TV series and movies. And when I saw that figurine, I thought, oh, he's just like me. So that was a first visual sign. And then we went to the restaurant and it was very quick, maybe just 1 hour, maximum 2 that I talked to him. It was very casual. Things didn't click on either side. I even remember walking alongside him and looking at him and thinking, he's rather short. And so this was it. I went back to Montreal. In the meantime, I dated briefly a guy. And the next summer, I was going back to France to work in Lyon for the summer. And I wanted my friend to house me in Paris because I wanted to spend 2 weeks in Paris reconnecting with friends before going to work in Lyon. And so I asked my friends, can you house me again? And she says, unfortunately, I cannot this summer, but my good friend Pierre, you may remember him, he can house you. I don't think she even asked him. She just said, Pierre will house you. And so she put us in contact. We texted, and just by texting each other, things clicked. We had the same sense of humor. We liked the same movies and series. Even though we were from very different culture, my husband is Asian, by the way, so both his parents are Laotian, and they moved to France when my husband was 3 months old. So he has a mix of French and Asian culture. I have a mix of French Canadian, British, American. So we had these culture mixes, but still we got along great, like with the sense of humor and the things in common that we liked. So we finally meet in Paris. So I get there and I stay there the first night. We only had one night in Paris before going to London. So we're together in Paris and he says, okay, I will let you unpack your luggages and I will stay in the living room just to give you your space. He goes in the living room and he puts on a CD. And the first song that plays, it's a piano piece that not everyone knows, like it's a very niche artist. And that song, 10 years prior, I had it in my head for I don't know how many weeks. And I remember every time I would go up and down a certain spiral staircase in the CEGEP where I was studying, I would hear that song in my head for many, many weeks. At a certain point, I thought, well, this is kind of too much. Why do I keep hearing the same piano song in my head? That actually helped me recognize my husband because it was something so niche. I immediately went in the living room and I was like, oh my God, like, you know this artist, you know this song, how come? I cannot remember who the artist is, but I knew the song from the soundtrack from Romeo and Juliet, the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and can't remember her name anyways. But he hadn't watched that movie. He knew that artist just because he loves music and he loves things that are very niche. So that was something. And then the day after, we were going for a 3-day weekend trip to London because I had never been there. And he told me I go there often for work. And I just asked, can you take me to London? He's a nice guy. He said yes. But we were strictly friends. But during the whole time in London, I was holding his hand. And it felt like the most natural thing in the world, and I didn't question it. And it was natural because we have had past lives together, but still we weren't together. We went back to Paris, and one night he tells me, I need to go right now. My cat is ill, and his cat was living at his parents' house. He said, I need to go to my parents' house. My cat is ill. I am leaving tonight. And it was very strange. The feeling that I had, that was clairsentience, that feeling of panic, but it's hard to explain, like this kind of panicked warmth tingling inside of me. I couldn't be separated from him. And everything was platonic. We were just friends, but I couldn't be separated from him. And I was a very independent woman. Like, I had been single for 3.5 years, very autonomous, independent. I knew my way around Paris very well. I was able to stay alone in Paris, no problem. But I was panicking. I couldn't imagine myself being separated from him. And I asked him, could you please bring me to your parents' house? Can you phone your parents and ask them if it's okay if I come with you? And so I did go to his parents' house. And once I was there, this is when we really started dating. I met his family, who I love. I met one of my sister-in-law who explained to me all the Laotian food and how you eat it and the traditions. It was super, super fun. I have a mission of exploration. So meeting someone, being with someone who's not from your culture when you have a mission of exploration is super fun. If you don't know life missions, you can go back and listen to episode number 9 to know all about the 10 soul missions. So I had different, signs here and there that I had met my soulmate, and it's been over 18 years and we get along great. And so this was my experience. Something very peculiar that can happen, and I call this subtle reminiscence, is something I saw with a client. That client came to me and she was wondering why she felt like she wasn't, quote unquote, the one for her partner. Her partner, who loved her very much, had no sign of wanting to leave her whatsoever, but she was having those nightmares about not being the right one for her husband and her husband finding the right one that wasn't her. And so in her Akashic Records, I asked the spirit guides what is going on, and she was actually remembering the soul plan circle, the circle of soul agreements that she was in. And she was remembering that she made agreements with several different potential soulmates, but she was also remembering the potential soulmates for her husband. So when she was having the nightmares, she was seeing the faces of all these potential soulmates, and it was driving her crazy because in this lifetime, she's working on healing a fear of abandonment, a fear that is very active. And so because we were in an Akashic reading, I went ahead and asked how this can be healed. And she also made a request to her spirit guides that, she understand where it comes from. And please, you can help me stop those nightmares. So this was a good point of understanding for her. It's very rare, but sometimes you can remember your soul agreement circle from past lives. So if you're curious and you also want to explore your karmic soulmate relationships like that client, the most effective method is to go in your Akashic Records. Because in your Akashic Records, you can explore the most important soul contract you're working on. You can explore the lesson to learn in your current romantic relationship. You can check if you have past lives that are shared with your partner, and if it is a romantic soulmate, you most certainly have past lives that you share together. You can also explore the karmic aspects of your relationship, unresolved issues or patterns from past lives that influence your current connection and how you can heal and release them. Also, how to resolve conflicts or difficulties in the relationship. And if you want to explore all of this, there are two ways to do it. So either you learn to read your Akashic Records yourself, and if you want to do so, I highly recommend my Akashic reading course that is not AI made. It is me. I don't know if you've seen my reel, but I just cannot with those PDF quote unquote courses that have been made by AI. Like in the spiritual world, a course made by AI on how to read your Akashic Records, like, no, you need some human to explain to you how it works. So it is a course with me. I'm there speaking to you, sharing my experiences, showing you the method, the protection protocols, giving you meditations to move through this. So you can learn to do it yourself with me through the course, or you can book an a la carte Akashic reading, and I can go ahead and ask your spirit guides, just like I did with that client I was talking about. So I have talked about all these concepts, and it's very intellectual. So let's step out of the intellectual and the mind and step into an exercise. And that exercise is to help you find a soulmate. It is not my exercise. It's an exercise by Ainsley MacLeod from his book, The Old Souls Guidebook. I will link it below. So if you want to find a soulmate, what you can do is that you can list 20 things you are looking for in a romantic soulmate. And when you list those 20 things, really go big. Ask for everything. Do not think that it's too much. You deserve everything that you desire. Also, make sure that everything is formulated positively. So everything has positive elements in your list. For example, say that you are looking for someone who is emotionally available rather than someone who is not married. Okay, very much positive saying emotionally available. If you're in a relationship, you can just list 20 improvements you like in your relationship also. So you can do that exercise if you want to improve your relationship. Now that you have your 20 things listed, you take your list and every day when you're in a room where you are alone and you don't fear that you will be disturbed, you can call on your spirit guides and read your list out loud. So you read your list and you do it every day because repetition is important. When you request something with your spirit guides, the more there is repetition, the more you show that you really want it. And once you do this, your spirit guide's job is to help you manifest what you desire, if what you desire is in everyone's highest interest. And this helps them orient these synchronicities that they will orchestrate. And if you're not used to connecting with your spirit guides, you can enroll in my channeling course to become more comfortable collaborating with them. Now, what I would like you to take away from this episode is that a soulmate never enters your life by chance. Now you know that you have chosen each other when you made your life plan. They come to remind you who you are or teach you how to choose yourself, for example. And some relationships are not meant to last, but rather to awaken you, to heal you, and to lead you to choose differently. And remember that understanding a soul contract never means you must stay in a relationship that makes you suffer. Karma never asks you to remain in suffering. It asks you to stop repeating the same pattern. Understanding the meaning of a bond can transform pain into clarity and transform confusion into peace. And sometimes seeing a relationship in the Akashic Records through the lens of the soul is enough to free you, and even without the other person changing. So now that you know more about soulmates, I would like to know, do you think you've already met one or more soulmates in this lifetime? Or is there a relationship that you understand differently after these episodes? Let me know in the comments. I'd really like to read you, and if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them. As always, thank you so much for being here. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Mystical and Practical podcast with Meli Guidance. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel and leave some stars, a thumbs up, or a comment. It truly helps to share the podcast with other old souls seeking a deeper understanding of the spirit world. If you're interested in getting an Akashic Records reading, a tarot reading, or joining one of my online courses, you will find all the details at meliguidance.com. This podcast was edited by plcm.ca and the original music was composed by record.bandcamp.com. Until next time, remember, we are all souls having a human experience and we can all be mystical and practical.